over 100 customer validation interviews with these groups, particularly the Mission Support Group, which is headed by Group Deputy Lori Vega, who is responsible for a couple thousand people, because you have military people, civilian people, and their families on the base. And so she is not only responsible for the well-being of these people, but also she carries the weight of the operations of this group to be able to provide for our national defense. And so these are the squadrons under her group. But before I get into the problem, it's helpful to go through kind of the process of how they actually acquire these assets. So this red circle here indicates an asset, and then we have some available funding, but the problem is this funding is only available for a certain amount of time, and if we wait long enough, that time will run out, and if we don't execute this item for them, that money is gone. And this is a common occurrence at the Elsworth Air Force Base, where they just aren't able to fund these assets, and so they're losing out on money, and also these assets aren't getting purchased. So flight chiefs and these squadrons aren't actually able to complete these mission critical operations. But when available funding does come in, we want to fund it as quickly as possible and make that acquisition. But there's hundreds of these assets that the Elsworth Air Force Base needs to purchase. And they need to prioritize it so that when they don't have funding, they're ready, so that when they do get funding, they can immediately use that funding to purchase these assets. So the way they prioritize this currently is they have written justifications from the people who actually need this item, the cost, and then the executability, which is whether it's legal for them to actually make this purchase, and then also whether or not they have the right, actually just whether or not it is legal to purchase. So currently, or before we started working with them, this is what their table looked like that I just showed, which if I zoom in here, it's pretty clear that they don't follow really a standard format. You have these red bold words here that indicate certain categories that isn't consistent with this column, or in other columns, like there's another category here that should be in the same place, that in a different column with these, but there's no standard operating procedure. There's not a good categorization system. So this data is really, or these assets are really hard to prioritize for Lori, who's trying to provide for her people and secure our nation's defense. But meanwhile, she's having to deal with these poorly categorized and oftentimes inaccurate or not up to date descriptions of these items. This is populated by dozens of different people on the Air Force Base, and it's just sent around via email. So this is frequently sent around via email, being populated by different people with frequent errors and not accurately categorized data. So that poses a lot of problems for prioritization, deciding whether or not it's actually executable and legal to fund. So problems coming from this lead to delays, which kind of could go back to that funding process I was describing earlier, where those delays make it so they're losing out on that funding that's on a short timeline, and then also your flight chiefs and squadrons don't get to conduct their mission critical operations as fast as they should be able to. And so then this just shows some other poorly categorized data. And I just talked about the problem impact. So over the summer, we built this for Elsworth Air Force Base. They already paid us to start developing MVPs for them. And so this is just us developing a new table that has properly categorized information. This is just mock data in this sheet right now. This would have hundreds of items in it, or hundreds of assets. But this is just to show some of the work we've already done for them. And then we also built in this this matrix so that they can select key categories that they use to make or to prioritize these items, so that instead of during these meetings with these high level like colonel or lieutenant colonel personnel, instead of them trying to sort through this Excel sheet, they can sort through this matrix just with a couple clicks of a button to quickly determine what the priority of certain items should be. So this was an improvement, but really we're not done solving their problem. The problems remaining are we're still using Excel. It's not a good collaborative method of working with this sort of process. Also, if we want to give them additional functionality using Excel macros, it's not user-friendly at all. Like, they won't even have the ability to undo if they make a simple mistake, which is kind of ridiculous when we're thinking about the stakes of the Air Force Base, especially depending on how the near future goes. We're still emailing between dozens of users. There's delays getting the information in the list just because somebody doesn't have time to email it, which is, again, a ridiculous problem to be having. And then there's lack of transparency for what the military actually needs. So, so the problem there is that it's not competitive for businesses to be able to provide these assets, and that there's a lot of businesses out there that can provide assets that the military installations need, but because it's not easy to see and it's difficult to start working with the government if you don't have an in or if you don't go through the SBIR process. We're going to make that more transparent so that we can get those businesses to be able to see how they can supply military needs, and then that's how we're going to improve the supply chain network. And so our solution would be a web application, so it's universally available on any device that they would have. We wouldn't need to install anything on their computers, so it would just streamline this process. It would be a live database so they could see changes instantly, see data accurately categorized, and then also be able to show the items that they need to a network of local suppliers, so they can instantly bid on things for a competitive way to get what they need. So additionally, we're saving them thousands of hours a year because these delays, they cause the Air Force Base to spend ridiculous amounts of time just tracking down these errors. And because people at the base are so busy, especially now, with their attempts to prepare for the scaling, they're about to double in size with the addition of the B-21 bomber, or the B-21 Raider. They're really busy, so any sort of coordination is delayed by them just having to take care of other things. Also, because we're able to speed up this process, we unlock tens of thousands of dollars worth of funding that they would have otherwise lost just because they ran out of time. And additionally, because they have more time in a better matrix to make these decisions, they're making better quality decisions, which is an improvement in not only time but also just the effectiveness of the base. I already covered this. So our competition is there's actually no other company that's trying to solve this problem right now. That's why they reached out to us, or that's why we got introduced to this problem, because we got into it with it's called the Elsworth Fellowship, and it's where the military organizations will reach out to university students to try to get them to understand a problem that they have in a way where we can explain it to them and say, this is where this is the problem that we understand from our interviews with you, and here's how we think you should fix it. And so after that, we realized this is a huge business opportunity, and really important for our nation's defense. So we started a business in August and have continued working with them since. Yeah, so there's no other company working with them on this. So we compared our product with what they would use if we optimized Excel and used SharePoint and other tools to try to get the most out of it. And it's not enough for what the military deserves and what it needs to be capable of. So our timeline and milestones are well, actually, before I get into that, we just got accepted into Wildfire Labs, so we're working with Mike Vedder and Todd Gagney, and we've had a lot of help from Joseph Wright and Jason Combs. But we've also been connected with SBIR advisors who are going to help us be competitive in this SBIR submission. The Elsworth Air Force Base works with, I think currently they're working with 27 active SBIRs right now, and we have their written and verbal support from both the commander of the base and also Lori Vega, who's a group deputy, which is a high-ranking personnel. And so we're going to submit in August, and then in December receive the SBIR grant money, which is undiluted funding, and then from there, with that funding, we're going to do more customer validation with other military bases and develop our MEP and wireframes to validate what we're doing. And then the SBIR Phase 2 funding is in July 2024, and then from there we go into more product commercialization where we scale this to all military installations. So this is just a picture of, or a map of the US, obviously, and all the Air Force bases. So there's 63, and we're starting with Elsworth Air Force Base, which from our validation, or our customer validation interviews with them, and their verbal confirmation that this is correct, that this product is worth $10,000 to $20,000 a month, and Wildfire Labs has also validated that this is a correct estimate. And so Global Strike Command encompasses 6 other bases, including Elsworth Air Force Base, which would be our next step. So once we get once we deliver our product to Elsworth Air Force Base and they see this really does solve our problem, then we go to Air Force Global Strike Command because we'll have an excellent reference on how this does improve their operations. And then from Air Force Global Strike Command, we go to all Air Force domestic installations and start working at other military installations as well. Because they all use this unfunded, this process is called the unfunded requirements process. And so there's over 500 military installations around the country and more worldwide. That's with the same with the same estimation that I was just using. That's $5 million a month and $60 million a year. And so other markets are other government organizations that they're all using these similar types of pots of money to pull from, like departments of Veteran Affairs, and then also I think there's opportunity, and we began to validate this, but we're just beginning for seeing what value this is to the local businesses who would be able to see transparently what these military installations need, so that they could provide a product for them. So this is our team. Sebastian now is our CEO, Monty Maj is our CIO and CFO, and I'm COO and CEO. We got a great team of very motivated people, and then we have an extraordinarily large amount of help and support. And the other unique thing about our position is that not only are we the first working to get this to market as fast as we can, but we're set up well because we have the Elsworth Air Force Base that has a great relationship with the School of Mines and Wildfire Labs, and then we kind of fit in the middle of that